Video on Jeff, and today we'll be explaining how Bridgette could actually win Total Drama Action. What's up guys, I'm going to show you here. Today's video is what if Bridgette won Total Drama Action. So basically how this will work is Bridgette is not making out with Jeff the entire episode, so Trent and Gwen still in the challenge. And Jeff gets voted off, and I said this in my Bridgette video, but I believe it's Lashana because she was in the bottom 3 in the original. And Jeff gets voted off for similar reasons to the original. Rather, he's just a lot popular. Basically the Screaming Gaffers and the Gophers. Bridgette would still, themes would still be the same, I assume, with Duncan and obviously Lindsay. DJ, it was Lashana, so then she would choose Bridgette, because I think Bridgette would now be chosen instead of Lashana. Owen would be selected, Beth, DJ, Heather, Harold, Justin, and Izzy. So episode 3 is where they have to act out the commercial. So Izzy would still be doing what she did in the original. Bridgette would be okay, and I think DJ would still have his alliance with Chef around this point. Harold and Duncan would still have their rivalry, and I think Bridgette would be more with Harold this time round. And Izzy still costing the loss, so she gets voted off. Episode 4 is an elimination round. Episode 5, Trent still has an run-up session. He throws the challenge. Everyone votes him off. Bridgette is suspicious of Gwen and Duncan. Episode 6 is non-elimination. It's an aftermath. Episode 7, Justin still blackmails Gwen, and Gwen hits Harold. Now, because there's no Lashana, Bridgette wouldn't vote for Gwen. Harold's working with Heather. DJ would vote for Gwen. I think everyone's still gangs up on Gwen here because they realize they have the votes later on to get rid of Heather. Episode 8. Episode 9 is where DJ still quits, so there's nothing else to be really said. Episode 10, obviously, Bridgette didn't trash talk on the TDA. In episode 11, I forgot to still bring back Izzy. And Izzy still goes, because Justin, obviously that doesn't affect the challenge. Duncan still wins that challenge, so I think ultimately Duncan still wins immunity for his team. Episode 12, non-elimination. Episode 13, Courtney would still get the win to the Gaffers because she's friends with Bridgette, so that makes it more believable. Courtney gets put into the grips. Owen still chases Lindsay and Beth with the tires. I think the grips still lose the challenge and everyone gangs up on Owen. And we're now putting in episode 20 because that's when he returns. In rock and roll. Right. That's 21. Episode 14, animation round. Episode 15 is Extreme Sports. So it would be Bridgette, Harold, and Lindsay. I think Harold gets the point. So then it's Heather and Beth. I think Beth, Duncan and Courtney. Duncan and Courtney still win. Courtney wins. Bridgette and Justin. Bridgette would do the tiebreaker. I think they lose the tiebreaker. Heather gets voted off. It would take Bridgette a lot more convincing, but I think she's able to pull it off because, I mean, someone like LaShawn was able to pull it off in the original. And we are at the merge. So, this is the merge cast. The grips. Alright. Episode 16 is non-elimination round. Episode 17 is Superhero ID. So Courtney was still in the challenge. And Duncan. So I think here Bridgette would make an okay costume, but I don't think she can match Courtney. So Bridgette's friends with Courtney, but she wants to get rid of Duncan. So I think Bridgette would just replace Lashana. So I think Lindsay would vote for herself, but the other 4 vote for Duncan because she's the closest to Courtney. I think Bridgette would consider to vote for Harold because he did cheat Courtney out, but I think ultimately she votes for Duncan. Episode 18, animation. Episode 19 is Princess Pride. So Justin would still win the challenge. I think Bridgette would make it pretty far, and Harold still does the math thing. I think Courtney would still win the challenge, and everyone gains on Justin for alienating himself, so he gets himself auto-eliminated. Episode 20, non-elimination round. Episode 21, Chris brings back Owen and just in case of him doing over his jaw, and his host can just do what he wants. So in rock and roll, I think Courtney would now win the challenge because she was the closest, so she would still win. Beth and Lindsay are together. Owen still throws his vote on Courtney. Harold would be grateful to Bridgette for getting rid of Duncan, and Courtney wants to get rid of Bridgette because she voted out Duncan. Beth and Lindsay would stick with Harold to try and vote out Bridgette, but Harold is loyal to Bridgette, so I think Courtney, realizing that Beth and Lindsay's friendship is quite threatening, would tell them to vote. Courtney votes for Harold, Bridgette would vote for Harold, as Beth and Lindsay are like Harold. So Bridgette is kind of in a bit of trouble here, so I think Courtney's going to see that Lindsay and Beth are a bigger threat than Bridgette. And she's friends with Bridgette, so I think she's going to keep her around. She's going to get her to vote for Harold, but she realises that Ben, Lindsay and Beth are more threatening. Beth's a bigger threat, so Harold would vote for Beth, and Lindsay and Beth vote for Bridgette, and Owen throws his vote on Lindsay. So I think Beth gets eliminated because she's a very popular candidate. She's been a social threat all season, so Courtney would get her voted off. So Owen still sabotages and beat Bridgette and Courtney versus Harold and Lindsay. There you go. Episode 23 is the vomit comment. Harold's still suspicious of Owen and calls him out. And I think Harold would now tell Courtney would make the goals lines with Lindsay, because I think that would now be a thing. I think she would tell Bridgette, and I think Bridgette would be willing to listen to Harold, and I think she'd kind of buy. She would say Owen is a nice guy, but he has been suspicious around this season. I think in the vomit comment, I think without Beth here, Courtney would refuse to go in the puke. Lindsay wouldn't, and I now think Owen was farting in it. Harold was pretty awful. But I think someone like Bridgette could win the challenge, because she did do the handstand in season 1, so I do think she would actually win immunity here. And I think because Bridgette can convince Courtney to vote for Owen, Lindsay likes Owen. I think everyone votes for Owen because he's the biggest threat. He won last season, and because of him being sabotaging a mole, they're going to vote him off. Episode 24 is where they have to make the Animal Buddies episode. So, really, it's whoever gets the raccoon. So, Courtney gets the shark, Harold gets the raccoon, Lindsay gets the chameleon, and Bridgette gets a bear. Harold would win the challenge because I think he would be able to get the raccoon to the end. So, Bridgette's friends with Courtney, and I think Lindsay and Harold vote for Courtney, and then Bridgette would also vote for Courtney, because I think at this point, Bridgette's going to see Harold did help them. So I think Courtney convinces Bridgette. I think she goes to these guys and vote for Bridgette. For Courtney, because Courtney's the biggest threat that's not immune. She's won the most challenges. She's going to win in the finale, so they're going to might as well vote her off. And because there's no Owen, there's no double elimination this time. Episode 25 is the obstacle course and the race to the end. So Bridgette and Lindsay and Harold are very people. Like, they get the Beth question right. Now, Harold would get the Lashawna question right, and Bridgette would get the Jeff question. I think it's very close, but I think Bridgette can definitely make it to the end. So between Lindsay and Harold, I do think Harold will make it before Lindsay, just because he has mad skills. So I ultimately think Lindsay's getting eliminated. So third place, Lindsay. And Bridgette wins the voting after a very tough tie, with Lindsay voting for Bridgette, Courtney votes for Bridgette, Owen votes Bridgette, Beth Harold, Justin Harold, Duncan votes for Bridgette, Heather votes for Harold, Izzy votes for Isco, DJ votes for Bridgette, Gwen votes for Bridgette, Trent, Harold, Jeff Bridgette, and Lashawna Bridgette. Ellen's still fun in the confessional, so they each get winning endings. So this is the second time I've had Harold as a finale winner. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. This time I'm trying to think it's going to go on. Bridgette won tall draw action. And yeah, peace for a while.